Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Yue Eats. I'm Yue, and as you can tell by the Chinese lettering behind me, we are in Manhattan, Chinatown. We are actually back from Vegas now, and we're back in New York making vids in our home base of New York City. Now, what brings us to this neighborhood is we are eating at a really famous pizza joint. That one right there. Today we are eating at Scarr's Pizza, which I have heard from many people is hands down the best pizza in all of New York City. Not just Manhattan, a lot of people say New York City in general. It was closed for a bit at one point due to a fire, but now it's back and I've been really meaning to try it. Now, I've kind of gotten some mixed reviews about Scarr's Pizza. Some people say that it's still the best slice in New York, and others say that it's kind of fallen off a little bit over the past few months, but we're gonna find out. I mean, the fact that on a Monday past 2 o'clock, there's still people waiting outside of this place is kind of a good sign. It shows that the pizza is either legit or at least has a good reputation. We're gonna give it a try, see if it lives up to the hype, see if Scarr's Pizza truly is the best pizza in New York, so let's check it out.
Do you like the hot honey on the hot boy slice?
Yes. Excellent, thank you.
I got the margaritas.
Alright guys, we just got our 3 slices from Scarr's Pizza. A cheese slice, a pepperoni slice. I figured those are kind of like staples. Everyone says that the hot boy slice with hot honey, they say that that's what you gotta get here. They say it was heavily recommended by the staff inside, which I kind of eavesdropped them talking to other people. But let me show you what we got. Oh man. Interesting plate stacking technique. It looks like they use a plate to separate some of the slices. I guess that way they don't overlap and, stick together. But that is the hot boy slice right on top. And then we have a pepperoni on the bottom and a cheese on the bottom left. And yeah, a little bit thinner. Not like, well, I guess both thin in terms of its thickness and thin in terms of its, like its diameter, like its width. A little bit thinner than some slices I've had, but it's looking pretty good. Let's not waste much time though, and let's try this hot boy slice. Gotta eat it while it's still warm, of course. And is this not a beaut? When I was filming the Vegas series of vids, I was craving New York pizza so badly, I even popped into New York Casino to get a slice, and it did not quite do the trick. So first thing that I'm gonna eat now that I'm back is a real New York slice. And if people say that this is one of the best around, even in a city like New York, I gotta try it. Bottoms up. It's looking a little floppy, but we'll give it a chance. Pretty good, but let's break it down. Kind of like I said right off the bat, it is a little bit on the floppy end. Like, I don't know if it's just this hot boy slice, but it's a little bit wet and a little bit floppy. Like, you don't usually want it to be like that. You don't want it to be so wet that the whole thing kind of just like is floppy and like rubbery. That's kind of like an excess of moisture. I wonder if it's that extra hot honey they put on top, which kind of added some extra moisture to really make the whole slice pretty wet. Other than that though, I gotta say that the toppings are all pretty good. I really like these charred jalapenos on top. They really give it like a kick. So it's definitely different from anything I've ever had before. As far as I can taste, the pepperonis are pretty oily and pretty yummy, but to be honest, the hot honey and the jalapenos, they kind of cover them up. Like, I'm sure I can taste them, but I don't really notice them, if that makes sense. Like, the hot honey and the jalapenos kind of, they kind of mask them, which I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Maybe it's what they're going for. Maybe everything works together in harmony. Same with the cheese. It's kind of hard for me to comment on like the cheese right now, just because the hot honey flavor and the jalapeno is just so overpowering. Maybe more bites will turn us around. Once again, like I was saying, I can't really taste much more than the hot honey and the jalapenos on top. Like maybe that's why it was so wet in that section. Maybe they kind of added a little bit too much honey or liquid sauce or whatnot. Everything else is kind of being masked, if I can tell you the truth. Although everything else about this pie is looking pretty promising. I mean, that's a nice airy, not too doughy looking crust. Seems to have good leopard spotting on the back, so that's promising as well. I gotta say, this slice is not necessarily scratching the itch I had for New York style pizza that I had when I was in Vegas. Like, it's obviously better than the New York casino slice, but this one is a little bit very different, and maybe it's not for me, but I can see why people like it. The flavor is very unique, but because of the way they layered it, I guess we'll go from more toppings to less, in descending order. So let's give this pepperoni a try, why don't we? The last one was cheese, pepperoni, hot honey, and jalapeno. This one is just cheese and pepperoni, so sans all the hot boy ingredients. So let's give it a try. And this one's looking pretty nice. I mean, this one's almost looking like a, like a Ninja Turtle slice or something. This one looks like a cartoon depiction of New York style pizza. Oh yeah, that's doing the trick. This slice, without the distractions from the hot honey and the jalapeno and all the other ingredients, you really taste New York pizza like in its beautiful simplicity. In this case, single topping. All the great things about this slice are not masked by additional flavor, and everything gets to sing on its own. The crust, first of all, is just more, it tastes fluffier, it tastes airier, so you really can appreciate the texture better. You can really taste the char of the crust more of like a crispiness. Not so much saucy stuff that it's not wet, it's a good texture. The pepperoni is tasting pretty oily. It doesn't taste super crispy, like I like when pepperoni is a little bit on the crispy end. So this pepperoni, it's a little bit thin and it's not super crispy, but it is oily. I guess it's a tad overly oily for me, but maybe a nitpick there. The cheese has good flavor. I don't really taste much of the tomato sauce, to be honest. Let's see if we can take a look at the tomato sauce. Yeah, I don't really taste much of the sauce, but that's okay. Not all slices are super saucy, so in this case, the sauce flavor doesn't really come out too much. But everything that's good about this slice is great. The crust, the cheese, and the oily pepperoni. And I think the most important thing is this crust is just so airy and fluffy, while also having a charred, slightly crispy bottom. I see why people say this is the best. I see what people like about it. If you really dig like a fluffy, like a pliable crust that's not like doughy, so if what you really care about is a dough that is, as you can see, like a real stretchy dough, then this is exactly what you're looking for. It is time to finish our trifecta. It was not our intention to go backwards, but that's just how it happens because of the way they stacked it. So now, let's go to the very basis form, a cheese slice with nothing but dough, cheese, and a thin layer of tomato sauce. Back to basics. And somehow, even the cheese slice is looking pretty beautiful. Like each of the slices, none of them look like worse than the other. Like they just kind of look different, which is interesting because you would think that like the fewer toppings there are, like the less tasty it's gonna look, but still looking pretty nice, right? This cheese one might actually be my favorite. Like somehow, like you would think that the more ingredients, the better it's gonna be. But somehow, like the less distraction in terms of superfluous ingredients, the better I'm enjoying this. I don't know if they just didn't include it in the other two slices, but you kind of taste like some herb flavor. Like I'm guessing in the sauce, or they sprinkled some herbs on top. Either they only added that in the cheese slice to give it more of a kick to it, or the other ones like the oily pepperoni and the hot honey and things like that are just covering it up. But with this cheese slice, you taste some of that herb flavor. I think it's kind of like oregano or something like that. And it's excellent. Like, that herb flavor pairs very well with the cheese. The cheese has great flavor. And to be honest, in New York, you know, unless you're going to like Little Caesars or one of those chains or something like that, in New York, all pizza places are going to have pretty solid cheese, at least, you know, compared to most other cities. There's lots of these delicious bubbles forming all over, and you know how much I love these little heat bubbles? Like, there's heat bubbles just all over this pie, adding like little surprise crunch, airy crunches. And then everything else that I loved about the other two slices is just more apparent. You know, the charred crispy bottom, the airiness from the crust, although it looks like this one is a little bit less doughy and a little bit more crunchy. But in a way, it almost makes this slice taste like a delicious, like, baked bread with cheese, like, baked into it. It almost tastes like a yummy cheesy bread, but not like a crappy cheesy bread from, like, Domino's Pizza or something, you know? Like it tastes like a more elevated one. But guys, I think that's gonna be it for this review for now. I think Scarr's Pizza is pretty legit. Like, I think this place for sure lives up to the hype, but it kind of depends on which slice you get. I feel like the cheese slice was excellent. The pepperoni was decent too, but the hot boy slice I wasn't so hot on. Like, I felt like the hot boy slice was really masking the great base cheese and dough that they had going on. Like, I felt like those ingredients were kind of unnecessary. But to each their own, I could see why people would like it. But if you just stick to basics, I guess you would say unofficial New York pizza rules. Of course, there are no rules with food, and New York pizza's no exception. It's kind of like in Pirates of the Caribbean, you know how they say like the Pirates Code is more guidelines than real rules? Same thing. I mean, there's no rules. I mean, do whatever you want, obviously. But I would say like a kind of like an unofficial like pizza rules are that generally you should try not to have more than one topping or two toppings at most. Like, the more simpler the better. If I was just judging it by the hot boy slice, I would say, a little floppy, a little bit too busy. You know, I can't really taste much more than the sauce, and not really for me. But these two slices, very legit, and I don't know, everyone's saying Scarr's is the best pizza in New York. I still think other joints like La Industry Pizza and Best Pizza, John's of Bleecker Street, I feel like these places are all great, and it really just depends on what your preference is, but I guess I will say that this place definitely is in the conversation just based on its doughy crust alone. I will say, for sure lived up to the hype, for sure one of the best pizzas in New York I've had for sure so far, and an amazing first meal after being back from Vegas. But anyways guys, I have 3 slices of pizza and they're not gonna eat themselves. So that's gonna be it for this video, and I'm gonna finish eating my pizza. Have you been to Scarr's before in Chinatown? Do you think Scarr's is the best pizza in New York City? Or if not, what's your favorite New York pizza joint? Let me know in the comments, because great minds eat alike. If you like my videos, as always, like and subscribe. That way you stay up to date whenever I post another video. Until next time, I'll see you later.